So this is a lot of content on studying strategies. So talking about studying strategies, we need to talk about listening, concentrating, note-making, reading, summarizing, organizing, and memorizing. It's a lot. So when we talk about studying strategies, the big point, the reason why it's so important is the better your studying strategies, the better your marks is going to be. So if you want academic success, you need to pay attention to how do you practice employing these studying strategies. If you are able to apply them, then your marks should go up. Okay, so let's go through all of these in a quick fashion way. So first of all, when we talk about listening, listening is an active process where hearing is an automatic process. Hearing happens anyway. If you choose to or not, it's going to happen. Listening is where you're actively trying to pay attention, getting the information that was said. Then, if you expect to find something while someone's talking, then you're more involved with active listening. Also, they listen for main ideas. They try to get a big idea so that they can put the content in. So if you think about the capital city of Finland, when I say Finland, your brain creates a book. And then all the information I'm going to say about Finland then gets added. But without getting the big picture, your brain doesn't know where to put the information. And that is what listening does. If you find the main idea, then there's this big book inside of your brain, then you're ready to add the information. Then listening actively involves asking questions, making notes, trying to find how does this make sense, trying to make sense out of the content. Then we are trying to find out what's this person saying. Even if we don't agree, try to get behind what they are saying. That's better active listening skills, even if you don't agree. Then when Kanar defined listening, active listening, he said it's the purposeful, involved listening. We are trying to pay attention, but it's not just your words, it's your posture, it's your body also conveying this message. Then listening actively is also a decisive act. You have to choose to do it, to put your focus, your attention on something, on the speaker maybe, the message, the audio, the podcast, something, watching for cues, trying to see where is this pointing, showing in which direction the content is indicating. Then active listening as a purposeful act requires concentration and critical thinking. Don't just allow any information in. Hear people out, but don't just allow any information to shift your understanding on a topic. Okay. Then reading is the exploration of the inner space. Doreen Virtue said this quote, and I think it's such a nice illustration of your inner space is your thoughts, and when reading, either reading, paying attention to what's said, reading is the exploration, comparing what you know with what you're getting now, seeing if it makes sense or not. Now let's talk about concentrating. Now, concentration is a selective thing we need to choose on. Concentration is like a muscle. The stronger this muscle is, the longer, better our concentration will be. But we also have something called selective attention. That's where you are selectively putting your attention on a specific subject. So while sitting somewhere, while paying attention, and someone clicks their pen, and you're focusing on that, you're actually putting your selective attention on that clicking of a pen. And it's a choice. You can remove it. So this is selective attention, trying to ignore any distractions. We have inside distractions, which is like hunger, fatigue, stress. Then we have external distractions like noise, temperature, things like that. The idea is to try and eliminate as far as possible the distractions that you have. If you come prepared, you want to study, try to make sure that you don't have any distractions. Try to anticipate your needs when you're going to study. So bring your water bottle so that you have water, your pen, your eraser, your book, all of these things so that you can focus. Try to put your phone not just on vibrate, but silent. Okay. We also need to block out time. The reason why we block out time for studying and reading is because if we don't do it, it oftentimes doesn't happen. And the whole idea behind selective attention and concentration is that if you enter your room and you see your bed, your brain thinks we're going to sleep now. That's just the way it's been programmed. So if you set a block out time where you always read or study, your brain knows, okay, it's going to be study reading time now. And it makes things go easier. But if you mess up the programming and you study on your bed, tonight you're going to struggle to fall asleep because your brain thinks, oh, we're studying now. And if you do study on your bed during the day, you start feeling tired because that's just how your orientation, the programming with your bed is. Okay. Then studying for 30 to 60 minutes is usually a good time. Try to take breaks without your phone so that your brain can relax. Ultimately, studying requires concentration. Although the best way to study is encourage concentration, it's usually trying to discourage distractions. There's a lot more distractions happening. Also, making lists to free up your mind is beneficial. This usually happens at night when if you don't make a list, your brain thinks it needs to remember the information. And then whole night your brain is like holding on to this. The next day, your brain is tired and it forgot. Okay. Then take breaks, 5-to-1 ratio, meaning study for 5 hours, take 10-minute break. Did I say that correct? So 50 minutes studying and 50 minutes studying and 10-minute break. That's it, yes. Maintaining a balance, trying to make sure that the things that you're doing isn't outweighing each other. So as an example, if the challenge, if the skill that you have is exceeded, then you will feel anxiety. And the solution is maybe tutoring will help you. If your skill level is exceeding the challenge, then it means you will be bored. You'll have to make it more difficult yourself. Challenge and the skill levels are low, then you will feel low interest, lack of interest, apathy. Solution is trying to teach it to someone else, making it more difficult. Then challenge and the skill level is balanced. That's where you find concentration and motivation. Okay. Then note-making. Note-making happens after you made a summary. Summaries happen before class, and then note-making is happening during class. So note-making is a permanent record of what was said. Also, the information that you received in class might not be available somewhere else. Notes are facts that your lecturer considers usually important, someone thinks is important, tips and guidelines from the lecturer that's pertaining to assignment maybe. Throughout the note-making process, we need to make sure that the information that we get is understandable and clear. It should aid your understanding, not diminish it. So if you make notes, it's a good idea that these notes, that it is on the same page that you made a summary, so that your summary is comprehensive and complete at the same time. Then general note-making principles is something like think before you write. Don't just write down everything. Keep your notes brief, short. Then keep notes organized. That's why I'm saying writing it at your summaries page, because then you know your summary and your notes is in one place. Also add the date. That also helps orientating our brain to know where to put the information. Use your own words. Leave space to add notes later. Maybe after class there's something that's unclear. Then if there's some space available on your summary, you can just add notes after speaking to the lecturer. Then I like using 1 page per chapter. That helps you to condense the information into what is really important. If you don't stick to just one side of a page, then usually the summary runs into 3, 4, 5 pages. Sometimes you just rewrite the handbook as well. So stick to one side of an A4 page. Next is reading. So reading usually follows this pattern where we survey, getting a big picture of what's happening, skimming information, trying to see, but what's the information that stands out that's mostly needed. And then scanning for past detail. That's usually when you page through it and you know, but this is here, and this is here, and this is here. Okay. So active reading, it's an intention to understand and what the author is trying to get at. trying to get behind the sentences and seeing, but what is this person trying to say? Vigorously interacting with the content and constantly asking questions. How would this or how can this happen? Relate new information to previous knowledge, the exploration of the inner space. Relating concepts that you learn to everyday experiences, relating evidence to conclusions as well, and then examining the logic of the argument. The idea is to find out, but is this information that you're getting, is it actually viable? Is it just theoretical knowledge, or does it actually happen? Is it beneficial in that sense? Then we have the P2R method. That stands for preview, then reading, reviewing. Okay. So when we are reading, we need to make sure that we are busy with active reading, reading on purpose. So have a positive attitude toward reading. Read for ideas. So try to find a bigger idea. This way, by doing this, you try to have curiosity. You are actually getting interest in the content. Asking questions to guide your understanding. Managing the reading process, that means creating the interest. So it's easier for you to understand the content. Scheduling time for reading, like I said, block out time for it. Then have a purpose for reading. If we have a why for reading, it's easier for us to follow that. If there's no reason, if there's no purpose, we quickly stop. Know how to keep the motivation and interest high. Just so that you know, the more you read, the more information your brain has to understand future concepts as well. So people that read a lot, it's easier for them to continue learning and even learning easier than the rest of us. Controlling their concentration, using the studying strategies and memory techniques to capture the content. Underline and annotate the material. I don't do this because I realize my brain starts thinking if you underline something, I don't have to memorize it, the book does. So I stopped using this one. Then make graphical organizer to make it easier for you to understand. Now I'm a visual learner, so this makes a lot of sense for me. When I make summaries, there's usually a picture that's illustrating how does this process work. Reviewing the materials and the notes to see if they are concise and if it's adequate enough. Summarizing, so that's where you condense all the information into one place. The idea is to keep it short, organized, and a written version of the text. You should write it out because your body, your muscles also memorize information. Just to add on to this, I can play the guitar and I actually can't remember what the chords look like, but my hands does. So I don't have to, the muscles remember the information. Okay. Then if we do something like summarizing, the more of your senses you get involved in your learning, the easier it is to grab and hold on to the information. So if you make a summary, kinesthetic is happening, you touching, practically doing something, listening, visualizing what's happening. So just by, and reading as well, by doing a summary, all of your senses being activated, except smelling. But you can add some essential oils on there, and then there's the smell involved as well. So this is what the Cornell outline method looks like. You have the headings over here, subheadings plus bullet points over here. At the bottom, it's an emotional reflection, just to add to the thickness of the brain so that you can easier get to that information. Then summarizing also helps the left and the right brain. The left side is usually the memory one, and the right side is the creative thinking part. So by doing a summary, you use both parts of your brain, and it's just easier to learn that way. Organizers, there's a lot of different organizers, like a concept map, a process diagram, what's the process that it follows, flashcards as well, wheel map, also comparison charts. So this will be something like Stephen Covey's time management grid, where you have these concepts and you just explain about the definition, the description, the significance, getting all the definitions together. Then there's a lot of other organizers as well, but you can look at the ones that's beneficial. It usually comes down to something like this, where you have a concept and all the underlying ideas. Process diagram, we said that, flashcards, comparison chart. That's usually the most common. So memorizing, there's a few different techniques. The big idea behind this is you have three types of memory. You have sensory memory, meaning your senses triggers it. This is where your senses gets triggered. Then the information goes to your short-term memory, which is like the RAM working memory of your brain. And if you can hold on to the information a little longer, it goes to your long-term memory, where it's impossible for you to lose the information. So some techniques for memorizing is things like imagery, visualization, pictures, mnemonics, and also acronyms, something like acoustics, the PEG system. I don't like the PEG system, but you can also do that. Recitation, rehearsal. This is some ways that you just make that road going to Finland thicker by repeating it or adding emotions to make it thicker. And that is the whole studying strategies. I hope this was beneficial for you.